People from all over the world are still in shock after the death of Kenny Law, a celebrity both in Franklin County and on television after his time on Discovery Channel's series Moonshiners.
The story of the Moonshiners cast has always seemed strange. Each season, familiar faces disappeared without explanation. To viewers, these Moonshiners were amazing characters, preserving an old craft. But behind their tough image, there was a darker truth. Some of these men really passed away due to illness and tragedy, while the show just moved on. So, who did the show actually lose? And how many of these deaths were false? Join us as we find out what really happened to the Moonshiners. Number 10. Roy Grooms. Roy Grooms was not a main attraction on the show, but the guy actually belonged to the old world that Moonshiners pretended to celebrate. Hailing from Tennessee, Grooms popped up in about 19 episodes during the early seasons. He wore the Moonshiner label like a badge of honor and treated the whole operation as a real family heritage instead of a cheap reality TV performance. It is truly heartwarming when reality television accidentally features someone who actually does the crime they are bragging about on camera. Roy Grooms died on February 21st, 2018, at the age of 71. The family kept the actual cause of death quiet, avoiding the usual public spectacle. Instead of a polished network press release, the news came directly from his daughter on social media. It is a rare miracle when a reality TV network actually respects someone's privacy instead of turning their funeral into a two-part season finale. In the years before he died, Roy spent much of his time promoting the moonshining culture he loved. He was a familiar figure at the Hillbilly Jam Festival, and friends later gathered there to remember him. To people outside the show, he was a minor name, but to those who knew the tradition, he was the genuine article. He stayed active in his community right up to the end, using social media to invite people to festivals and to share his love of the craft. That enthusiasm was his real legacy. He was not the kind of moonshiner who chased the spotlight, but he was the kind who kept the heritage breathing in small towns where it might otherwise have faded. However, not every story that traveled through the Moonshiners fan base ended this way. While Roy's passing was confirmed and quiet, other cast members were killed off by the internet, while they were still very much alive. Number 9. Tim Smith. Tim Smith has been the face of Moonshiners since the very first season. He started as an outlaw distiller and became the most recognizable figure on the show, the steady center that newer cast members orbited around. His calm authority made him the person fans pictured first when they thought of the series. Being on TV made him an easy target for fake news. Internet death rumors popped up constantly, fueled by his long breaks from the camera and clickbait videos that grouped him with cast members who actually died. It was all complete garbage. It is sad to scroll through the internet and find out that some random teenager in a basement has already declared you legally dead for views. In reality, Tim used his reality TV fame to start a legal business. He turned Climax Moonshine into an actual brand, going from running from cops to selling bottles on store shelves with government approval. He is still on the show today, giving advice to newer distillers and working on special building projects. Tim laid out the exact reason why the cast can film an illegal business without ever going to jail. He pointed out that proving a moonshining charge requires actual witnesses, physical evidence, lab tests, and real court testimony. None of that stuff can be pulled directly from a television edit. The whole point of the show is to make sure the authorities can never actually catch them in the act. It is beautiful how a multi-million-dollar television crew can act as the perfect legal shield against a local sheriff. As it turned out, the man so many rumors tried to bury was busy turning an illegal trade into a legitimate career. But Tim was not the only original cast member whose troubles got mistaken for something far worse. Number 8. Stephen Ray Tickle. Few Moonshiners' personalities have been as easy to love as Stephen Ray Tickle, known to fans simply as Tickle. He arrived as comic relief and quickly became a fan favorite, the kind of cast member people tuned in to watch even when nothing was being distilled. His personality carried entire scenes. Tickle also had a complicated history with the law, and that history fed the rumor mill. He served jail time on more than one occasion, and his disappearances from the show during those stretches were quickly twisted online. Each time he vanished from the screen, someone claimed he had died. The truth was less dramatic and far less final. Tickle kept returning to the show after his legal troubles, often funnier than before, and he remained a working part of the cast. The jail stories were real, but the death stories were not. Soon after fans stopped worrying about Tickle, attention shifted to a much younger cast member, whose loss, this time, was painfully real. The next name on this list did not survive his rumors. Number 7. Lance Waldroup. Lance Waldroup joined Moonshiners in its second season alongside his father, Jeff, and the two became one of the show's most likable pairings. Lance brought energy and curiosity to the still, experimenting with unusual recipes like absinthe, and earning a loyal following through his upbeat personality. He appeared in more than 50 episodes. Lance stepped away from the show around 2019, and the reason was a family one. His mother had been diagnosed with multiple sclerosis, and Lance left television to help care for her. The decision pulled him out of the public eye long before any sad news arrived. Then the news came, and it was devastating. Lance passed away on February 25, 2021, at just 30 years old. His mother found him unconscious at home, and emergency responders could not revive him. An autopsy listed congestive heart failure as the cause, with cardiomyopathy and obesity as contributing factors. The full picture of his final years was a heavy one. Lance had been in recovery from opioid addiction and had struggled with depression after losing 2 siblings to cystic fibrosis. Discovery remembered him as an adventurous distiller who chased new flavors, a talent taken far too soon. A memorial fund set up after his death described his passing as unexpected and filled in some of the gaps. It noted that Lance had once battled addiction before working to turn his life around, and that the family had leaned heavily on Jeff for support after Lance and his mother were both unable to work. The portrait it painted was of a young man devoted to his family until the very end. While Lance's story ended in genuine loss, the next cast member's most famous tragedy was survived by the man himself, though not by the companion who rode beside him. Number 6. Josh Owens. Josh Owens was a professional motocross racer before he ever ran a still, and that fearless streak followed him onto Moonshiners. He joined in the second season and became known for the dog who rode shotgun on his motorcycle, a small white companion named Cutie Pie, who appeared in nearly every scene Josh did. Josh's reckless side eventually caught up with him. In 2018, a tire blew on his vintage bike during a race in Florida, sending him into a wall. He broke his nose and ribs, collapsed a lung, and lost the remains of a finger he had already partly severed years earlier. The injuries were severe, and for a time, fans feared the worst. Those fears turned into rumors that Josh had died. He had not. He recovered from the crash, kept appearing on the show, and later spoke openly about feeling lucky to have survived. The man the internet kept burying simply refused to stay down. Trouble followed Josh everywhere. On one trip back from a rally, a trailer holding his entire life caught fire. He stood there on the highway and watched everything burn to ashes because he could not save a single thing inside. Viewers tried to set up a fundraiser to help him recover the money, but Josh refused the donations. He told everyone that items could be replaced, and the only thing that mattered was that nobody died. It takes a special kind of luck to survive the police in the woods, only to have your entire life incinerated by a freak highway accident. The real tragedy in Josh's story was Cutie Pie. The famous dog died in June 2020 at around 18 years old, after spending nearly 2 decades by his side. Josh announced her death in a heavy message, and a lot of viewers mourned her just like they would a human cast member. It says a lot about the human cast of that show when the most universally loved personality was a senior dog who could not even speak. Meanwhile, Lance's death had left another familiar face in a quiet kind of grief, and that man's exit from the show was soon mistaken for something more permanent. Number 5. Jeff Waldroup. Jeff Waldroup was the steady half of the father-son duo that anchored the early seasons of Moonshiners. He was the veteran bootlegger, the one teaching while his son Lance experimented, and together they gave the show some of its warmest family moments. Jeff appeared for roughly 7 seasons before stepping away. Jeff's leaving the show, right along with the tragic death of his son, turned him into prime bait for internet lies. When a reality star walks away without making a scene and then deals with a major family loss in public, people online immediately start guessing the wrong thing. Rumors spread fast, with people claiming Jeff had died as well. It is a beautiful glimpse into humanity when the internet sees someone mourning a family member and decides the best response is to announce that person is dead, too. He was not. Jeff stepped back from television to return to his other work, and harder times followed when the pandemic made steady employment scarce. Through it all, he kept distilling on his own terms and chose not to return to the show. In an act of devotion, Jeff continued the craft under a label honoring his late son, keeping Lance's name alive in the work they once shared. He remained, by every account, very much alive. But the next legend on this list could not be saved by any rumor correction, because his loss was confirmed by the network itself. Number 4. Jim Tom Hedrick. If Moonshiners had an elder statesman, it was Jim Tom Hedrick. He was an old-school Appalachian distiller from North Carolina, a fixture from the early seasons whose gravelly voice and wry humor made him an instant fan favorite. He represented the genuine history the show was trying to capture, a man who had been making liquor since he was a teenager. Jim Tom's fame went way beyond a hidden still in the woods. He started selling his own legal liquor in mason jars, ended up with his face printed on t-shirts, and became the guy younger Moonshiners went to for actual advice. His wild personality was just as strong as his alcohol, and when he showed up on screen, it felt like visiting an eccentric uncle. He had been cooking liquor since he was a teenager in the North Carolina mountains, meaning his stories came with decades of experience dodging authority. Bad health forced Jim Tom away from the cameras during his last years. He died on September 6, 2023, at 82 years old, following a fight with kidney cancer. The Discovery Channel put out a statement confirming his death, calling him a beloved member of their television family. It is always touching when a giant media conglomerate takes a break from counting money to remind everyone that the old man they filmed for profit was technically part of the family. His death was one of the few that the show acknowledged directly, a sign of how much he meant to the series. As one true legend was laid to rest, another core cast member was quietly fighting a serious health battle of his own, one that, this time, he was still winning. Number 3. Eric Digger Maines. Eric Digger Maines is one half of the popular Mark and Digger team, the pairing behind some of the show's most ambitious distilling projects. Together, they helped found Sugarlands Distilling. and built a reputation for combining old methods with new ideas. Digger's easygoing nature made him one of the most approachable faces on the cast. In recent years, Digger faced a genuine health crisis. He revealed that he had been diagnosed with leukemia, a serious blood cancer, and he spoke honestly about how difficult the diagnosis was. For a show full of invented death rumors, this was a real and sobering piece of news. What set his story apart was his outlook. Digger described the diagnosis plainly as no fun, but he also said he was hopeful about the future. He kept appearing on the show and kept his fans updated, treating the illness as a fight rather than an ending. Digger's battle with illness shows that TV characters face real-life issues when the cameras stop rolling. He is still alive and working, and by being honest, he gave fans the truth that online rumors couldn't provide. Instead of hiding and letting the internet create wild stories, he chose to face the public while managing his health. This honesty brought a lot of support from fans. However, the last two names on this list remind us of the real tragic deaths. Number 2, Kenny Law. Kenny Law brought deep traditional knowledge to Moonshiners. He was a third-generation distiller from Virginia who appeared alongside his cousin Henry Law, starting in the show's later seasons. Quiet and skilled, he became a cornerstone for the teams he worked with, respected for craft rather than showmanship. Kenny's health declined over several years. He had long struggled with diabetes, suffered a heart attack in 2024, and later faced a serious blood infection. These battles eventually proved too much for him to overcome. He passed away on January 14, 2025, at the age of 68. The announcement came from Law's Choice Distillery, which said he died peacefully and surrounded by loved ones. His death was the most recent confirmed loss among the show's cast. The online tributes started flooding in immediately. The official show account put out a post calling him a beloved member of the group since the early days and finished the message with a short note telling him to keep shining. The other guys on the show called him a complete legend in the liquor business. His cousin Henry, who spent years running their still right alongside him, confirmed that Kenny passed away at a nearby hospital after dealing with a long list of health issues. Yet even Kenny's legacy traces back to one man who started it all, the figure whose death gave the entire show its soul. Number 1, Marvin "Popcorn" Sutton. No name carries more weight in the illegal liquor business than Marvin "Popcorn" Sutton. He was a famous Appalachian moonshiner, storyteller, and author who turned making illegal alcohol into a genuine form of folk art. Even though he was never an official cast member on the show, his old footage showed up in the very first season. The entire series was basically built as a tribute to the exact lifestyle he lived. Popcorn's death came before Moonshiners ever aired. He passed away in 2009 at the age of 62. He was facing a federal prison sentence for illegal distilling, and rather than serve it, he took his own life. His passing closed a chapter on a vanishing way of life and gave the coming series a heavy sense of purpose. The guy's influence never actually went away. A lot of the top moonshiners on the show learned the trade right from him or copied his exact style. His old recipes even ended up in legal distilleries that sold his liquor to the entire country. The show still brings up his name constantly, treating any old jar of alcohol he touched like a holy object. It is truly touching how a man can spend his life avoiding taxes, only for a television show to turn his old garbage jars into religious artifacts for a national audience. Long before television cameras ever started rolling for the show, Popcorn had already turned himself into a local folk legend. He popped up in early documentaries about Appalachian life, wrote a book about making liquor, and became a walking symbol of an old tradition the modern world was trying to wipe out. By the time the network used his footage, he was more of a myth than a regular person. And that myth got way bigger after his death. Strangely enough, Popcorn Sutton is the exact reason the rest of these show members even have a career. The series that built its brand on mourning his death also created the massive fame that caused people online to start making up death rumors about the cast members who are still breathing. He was the very first loss, and he is still the only one the entire show respects. So, which of these losses came as the biggest surprise? The ones that were real, or the ones that never were? And after all these years, has the fame done more to honor these moonshiners or to distort them? Share your thoughts with us in the comments section. Remember to like, share, and subscribe for more. Also, click the next video showing on your screen. You will enjoy it.